Hello there, beautiful friends from around the world. I'm going to be your host, Blackenfist, and this is my very special episode 5 and 6 Dragon Ball Super review. I know I'm a little late with the episode 5 review, but these are my thoughts. Plot-wise, not much happens in this episode. Beerus shows up on King Kai's planet, and the first encounters we see with Goku and Beerus show up in this episode. Now, the most significant thing that happens in this episode is that Goku challenges Beerus to a fight just like in Battle of Gods. Of course, like Super has been doing, it's a little bit more extended than the movie version. But the big elephant in the room for Dragon Ball Super Episode 5 is obviously the animation, which it really dipped, and quite honestly, it wasn't even consistent throughout the whole episode. Most of the talking scenes in Dragon Ball Super were actually pretty fine. It's when the action started, which honestly didn't make sense to me. If you're gonna have one part of the episode that's not gonna look as good as the other part, might as well have that section be the talking portions and have everything, all your efforts put into the action portion. But they completely flipped it around. Maybe they were running out of money, maybe they just organized this and scheduled it really bad, but it didn't come out good. It came out pretty bad. This is actually some of the worst Dragon Ball animation that I have seen, and even when you compare it to the old Dragon Ball Z anime. Now, I know that the old Dragon Ball Z anime also had pretty bad animation at times, but it was at least bearable. Not to mention the Z anime was running in the late 80s and early 90s, and I would like to think that animation standards have changed and improved, especially since they're animating this with the help of the computer. As much as the Dragon Ball Z anime didn't have perfect animation, it was at least all hand-drawn. What excuse does Super have? They have help from computers. But luckily for us, episode 6 didn't have those problems. It seems that the animation was all smoothed out, and overall just a much better episode than episode 5. A lot more things happened in episode 5 as Beerus shows up at Bulma's cruise ship party, and a little bit more antics are introduced there, with Beerus being introduced to Bulma, Krillin, and the rest of the gang, and then Vegeta also trying to deal with calming Beerus down and not trying to dissatisfy him so he wouldn't blow up the planet. This obviously creates some humorous moments, and quite honestly, Vegeta in this episode really reminded me of how he was in the Broly Legendary Super Saiyan movie.
He'll kill us! He'll kill all of us!
Think about it. Overall, episode 6 has to be one of the better episodes along with the series, which honestly had to happen. With episode 5 not much being done, the action scene suffered from poor animation, so episode 6 I think was a good step to get that back. But guys, something we must understand is that Dragon Ball Super, because it seems it's going to be a continuously long-running series, is going to have bad animation days. This is just something that an anime like Dragon Ball Super is going to suffer through. But it doesn't have to be as bad as episode 5. I also want to talk about the score, because Naruhito Sumitomo's score is really starting to grow on me, and especially in episode 5, believe it or not. See, one thing I really found interesting about episode 5 is that Sumitomo's score was really hitting all the notes that it really needed to have. It was really putting the excitement in the action sequences. However, it almost clashed, because as much as I was digging the music, it was paired with this pretty mediocre animation, so it was like a great soundtrack coupled with bad animation. It's like things that shouldn't mix. Sumitomo once again killed it for me in episode 6. I mean, I'm really starting to like the tunes that he's brought up here. Yeah, some of the tunes are recycled from Battle of Gods, but that's okay. And overall, Sumitomo, I think, brings a cinematic feel to the Dragon Ball soundtrack, which in my case actually just makes me more immersed in the actual show. It's just too bad he couldn't do that in Resurrection F, at least in my opinion. But those are really my thoughts on both of those episodes. Yeah, I could have talked more about episode 5, but I'm late on it, and you know, other guys did it better than me. I think that Geekdom 101 already made some pretty good videos on that, so if you want to know more about that stuff, then go ahead to his channel. But if you want to be informed in the latest Dragon Ball news, and of course on the Dragon Ball content that I produce, please subscribe to the channel. And as always guys, I'm Blackenfist, and I will always be outweighing.